Ready to go.
All right. Well, good morning, guys. So I hope you all had a great holiday and hope you're not as tired as I am. Today we're going to go over Chapter 7 in Developing the Leader Within You. This chapter goes over developing your most appreciable asset, which is people. I loved this chapter. And it's so funny, I say that about every chapter, that I love this chapter, but I really do. Each and every one of them is so awesome when you dive into it one chapter at a time, and I love how we're doing this. But as I was reading through this, I kind of thought about my past experiences and, you know, what I've dealt with in jobs that I've had and kind of how my bosses had treated me and other people in leadership over me have treated me over the years. And so it really put a different perspective on it for me. Because as I read through these things, I want to make sure that I apply these things, because I don't want to be the one doing that to people like people did it to me, if that makes any sense to you guys. So, you know, obviously people are the number one thing that we have to have in our organization. So we can't do this alone. We have to have people to make it work. And especially in our line of business, you know, we have to have people to purchase product to make our businesses run. So we have to do our part to make sure that we are developing those people, that we're loving those people, that we're appreciating those people, that we're just people. So the chapter starts out talking about your influence. And the one who influences others to follow only is a leader with certain limitations. So if you're a leader that you just influence people to follow, you know, you may have a few people that are going to follow you, but in the end, you probably won't have a lot that will follow you. But the one who influences others to lead others is a leader without limitations. I thought that was really awesome. And, you know, again, it starts out talking about how we can't do this ourselves. And there was a story about a bricklayer who tried to do the whole job himself and kind of the troubles that he got himself into trying to do that. So it's a good analogy and a good story to look at, to realize that we can't do this on our own. So the more people that you develop, the greater the extent of your dreams. So I don't know about you guys, but I have a pretty big dream for my business. And so I want to do my part to work on developing those people so that, you know, their dreams as well as my dreams can come to fruition. So there are 3 principles for development that we're going to go over today. The first of those starts with assumptions. So when you're dealing with people, you obviously are going to have assumptions about people and who they are and what they can accomplish and what their strengths are and what their strengths are not. So I really loved the way it broke this down, because I Googled the workbook questions and found those. But I love how it had the little section where it talked about the assumptions about people. So long ago, I heard in a seminar that I was in, and I'm sure you guys have all heard this, what happens when we assume things, that it makes an ass out of you and me. So that has stuck with me over the years, and I always, every time I see the word assume, think of that little analogy. So I think that's awesome. So we never, ever want to make assumptions about people in a negative way. We want to always try to assume in a positive way about people. So again, in looking at how I've been treated in the past in different positions, these things really popped off the page at me. So, you know, everyone wants to feel like they're worthwhile. When you're in an organization, when you are doing a job, whatever that job may be, you want to feel like you are worthwhile. You want to feel like you're important. Everyone needs and responds to encouragement. People do better work and exert greater effort under a spirit of approval. For me, this is huge, because one of my top love languages is words of affirmation. So, you know, I guess it's a middle child thing with me, but I need to know that, you know, I'm doing a good job. I need to have those words of affirmation. So if I'm in a position where I never get encouragement, or I never feel like I have a spirit of approval, then, you know, I'm not going to do a great job. Eventually I'm going to start to shut down. So that's really good for us to remember, that we need to always be encouraging our people both on the client side and the coaching side. So you can really apply these principles to both. People buy into a leader before they buy into his or her leadership. A leader's stated authority, position, or organizational chart does not motivate people. They respond to the person. So how many of us have ever been in a position where someone new came into a position higher than you, and, you know, their attitude or the way they portrayed themselves was, you know, they're the position, not the person. So you're not going to buy into that position until you know the person who's in that position. And that's a great thing for us to remember, is that we still need to be relatable to people. We still need to be that person that is having a relationship with the people around us. People think that success is luck. That couldn't be any farther from the truth. We all know that success is not luck. It doesn't just happen. We all have to work hard at it. And so we need to also instill that into the people around us as well. And the way we do that is by being teachers. Leaders teach followers that success is the result of planning, and that it happens when preparation and opportunity meet. People are naturally motivated. We should create a people-friendly environment that does not demotivate by acknowledging significant contributions, by encouraging goal sharing, or by fostering a culture of positive dissatisfaction, by recognizing people and setting clear expectations. And then also we should avoid demotivating people by belittling, publicly criticizing and cutting conversations, manipulating or using people, being insensitive, and discouraging personal growth. So I hope in our line of work that we're not ever doing that as coaches. I can't even imagine doing that to someone, but never do that, guys. Don't ever do that in public to people. That does nothing but destroy your relationship. And then there are several questions that we should ask people. Ask ourselves, sorry. Question one is, am I building people, or am I building my dream by using people to do it? So this is something that I really spent some time thinking about. So, you know, obviously I have a dream to build my business, and to do that, I have to bring coaches on underneath me. So when I'm thinking about my dreams and building my business, am I thinking about them in the process, or am I thinking about just my dream and accomplishing that dream? So that was really good to think about and to really put into perspective for me kind of how I need to bring my coaches along as I'm starting to train them and move them into their businesses as well. Do I care enough to confront people when it will make a difference? This is huge for me. I am non-confrontational. I hate confrontation. I will avoid it to the very end. So, but I realize that I need to. So am I willing to do that confrontational thing that I need to do when I have to? And as a good leader, we all have to develop that skill. So that's something I'm going to be working on for sure. And then, where's my third question? Am I listening to people with more than just my ears? Oh my goodness, the thing that Jamil posted this morning, like he's posting so many inspirational things today, like it's crazy. Right before I got on here, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's good. That's so good. I need to read that. But I mean, it's true. Are we listening? Are we listening to people? And so the biggest part of what we do is listening to people. So even in interested calls with people, are we listening to what they're saying? When we're talking to prospective coaches, are we listening to what their needs are? How can we listen to hear how we can best serve them? Or are we just listening to get them to come on as a coach to further our dream? So I really spent a lot of time thinking about those three questions as I read through this chapter. I thought that they were really, really awesome. So does anyone have anything to add about these two things real quickly before I move on to the third one? Anything that jumped out at you?
I'm with you, Carol Ann, when you were talking about, thinking about bringing on coaches, and are you bringing them on to further your dream, or are you really interested in helping them achieve their dreams? And I think that's huge, and that's something that we need to meditate on. And I think that's why personally why I've struggled is because I've got this goal on my own that, I want to bring on coaches, and but I think that's because I want to fulfill my dreams, and I'm not taking the time to really dig into them and what's important to them and how this is really going to help them. So I think once you have that mind shift, that's when things will start to change, and you're really going to impact people's lives, because it's not about you, it's about them. And in developing them and helping them grow, it's in turn going to develop you. But the whole concept from the very beginning of the chapter I loved, and that we can't do this alone. And I know Jamil talks about that a lot, and reach out to your mentorship. And we hear that all the time on leadership calls, is reach out to your mentorship, because really, truly, we can't do this on our own. And if we try to, we're not going to be able to impact the number of lives that we want to. And I think each of us that are on this call this morning, then have been every week, we all want to grow big businesses, and that's why we're all doing this together. Even in personal development, we can't do personal development together because we're not going to get as much out of it as if we all did it together and kind of fed off of each other. And but yeah, this was an amazing chapter. Like, I want to go back and read it again and again. But that's kind of, as since you shared so far, that's what I got out of it. And the listening part, that's something I continue to struggle with. And it kind of, in the workbook, it leads you through some questions you can ask yourself. Like, do I allow the speaker to finish without interrupting? Oh my God, I'm horrible at that. I'm okay in person, but when I'm on the phone with somebody, I am awful. And I catch myself all the time interrupting. And it's like, no, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. And it's like, Nicole, just be quiet and listen. So that's something I constantly work at. But like a lot of this stuff, like, it had me think about my marriage and my relationship and confrontation, and just like different things you can ask yourself, is avoid words like always and never. Ooh, I'm bad at that, especially with my husband. You always, or you never. And so these are just really, really good reminders, not just in our business, but in our relationship with our significant others or our children. Really great principles that we can take and learn from. The layering effect was really cool too, is when you're talking about confronting somebody, and I've learned this in management, is they call it like the Oreo cookie, where you compliment and then you confront and then you follow up with a compliment. So it kind of makes that confrontational moment, not so negative, but you start with a positive, then you confront, and then you end with a positive.
Yeah. I find myself doing that too. Like, when I'm on a call with people, like, because my life is so busy and I've got so many things going on, I find myself having to just take a deep breath and just stop and listen, because I'm thinking about what I've got next to do, like what's on my to-do list. Like, once I get off this call, what do I have to do? So it's really like a mind game with me to like stop and, be in the moment right now and take time to listen to this person and really understand what they're saying and try to best serve them, and not think about myself and what I've got coming up in the next few minutes or the next hour or the rest of the day. So yeah, I do that too, for sure. There were, anyone else before I move on? Anyone else have anything to say about those areas?
I just want to, I really like this part about the assumption, make the right assumption about people, because, everybody has positive things. And so you can think positive or negative about somebody, and that's going to go ahead and definitely show. You might not think that by you having a negative assumption about somebody that they're going to sense that, but I truly believe that it's going to eventually come out. And, from a parent and now a grandparent, I'm reading this book, and it's funny is that, because I'm trying to relate it to our business, but there's so much of this that really has a lot to do with your children, and you guys all being younger than me, this is so awesome. In fact, people who are watching this, if you haven't picked this book up, you need to pick this book up for your children, because one of the things I really loved, it says people tend to be what the most important people in their lives think they will become. Guys, that's huge. What are you teaching your children? What are you saying to your children? What are your assumptions about your children? Are they positive or are they negative? Because the kids are going to pick up on that. That's huge, really huge. I'm really excited reading this book because there's a lot of things that, because I'm going to have a big influence on my grandchildren. In fact, that's, again, most of you know, that's why my why for getting healthy was my grandkids. And I can just see all the things that I'm learning are things that I'm going to be able to go ahead and teach them and influence them in a positive way. So I'm pretty excited about that. So that's my 2 cents. I'm done.
Yeah, for sure. I thought about that too. Like, there's so many different areas in your life that you can apply these principles. It's not just work. I mean, it's everywhere across the board in your life. Like, it's just, especially this chapter, just dealing with people and learning how to, love on them and appreciate them and believe in them and give them affirmations and just all of that. Like, I'm with Nicole. Like, I could go back and read this chapter, and I probably will several more times, because there's so many things that, like, I'm underlining and highlighting and putting sticky notes on because I want to, like, talk about these things, but we only have half an hour. So, but they're awesome. They're so good. Like, I wish, like everything, that I had this in my younger years. And I realize I'm still young. I'm only 42, but I wish I'd had these, like, in the beginning of my adult life, and, like, so I could use these principles before now. They're so awesome. But kind of circling back to, what I said about loving people, and some of the things that I underlined was, I talked about affirmation. Like, we need to let people know that we love them and we care about them. And one of the things I underlined was recognition is one way to give meaning to a person's existence. And Craig, you touched on this a little bit, about them believing in who they are and what they can accomplish. And, if we never recognize people, or we never love on them publicly, or we never, like, give them these affirmations, they're not going to believe that they can do what they are capable of doing. I've seen this in my own life. If I feel like I can't do it, then I have someone like Jamil or Rebecca come alongside me and say, you can totally do it. Set these goals. All you have to do is do this, do these processes, do it, and voila, it happens. And so while I didn't believe in myself, their positive affirmations helped me believe that I could do it. And it was just as simple as just doing it. But I needed someone to show me that I could do it. So just recognition and positive affirmations. And then another thing that I underlined, this is something that, we as just people in our lives daily should remember, is not to make it about ourselves. And sometimes the way we do that is we get jealous of other people's accomplishments. And one of the things that I underlined in the little paragraph that talked about don't discourage personal growth, we should not feel threatened by the achievements of others, but should be very supportive of their success. So, not everyone's going to do things the way we do it. Not everyone's going to hit marks the way we hit them, or we may not hit the mark the way they hit it. But if we as individuals are always really and truly looking out for those people around us and loving on them and wanting to see them succeed, then we're going to be happy when they hit those marks and when they make these successes in their life, and we're not going to feel threatened by that. So, the worst thing in the world that you can do is to let them know that you feel threatened by that, or that you're not happy by their success. So that was something that I underlined as well, that really jumped off the page at me, was that. And I have felt that in my life. I've been on both sides of that in my life. Like, I will own up to the fact that I've been jealous of people over, in my life when they've hit certain marks in their, life, whatever it may be. But then I also have felt the other side of that, where I know that they feel threatened, and I know that, they're upset and they're not happy about my success. So I want to be someone who's always happy about their successes. And it's not about me, it's about helping them with what they're trying to accomplish. So that was something that really jumped out at me. And then another paragraph real quick, and this I automatically wrote down, empathetic coaching, when I saw this. The moment people see that they're being understood, they become more motivated to understand your point of view. So when we're coaching people, if we're not listening to them and we're feeling like we're understanding what their struggles are and what their problems are, they're not going to see our point of view. They're not going to listen to us. But the minute people understand and believe that we understand them, that we get where they're coming from because we're taking the time to listen, then they're going to become motivated and they're going to listen to us and they're going to understand our point of view. And that also goes back to the beginning of the chapter where it talked about developing, not the chapter, the book, where it talked about developing our people, our relationships. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So, you can shoot out all these, instructions to people, but until they know that they're being heard and that they know that you care about them, they're not going to listen to you. So empathetic coaching, empathetic living every day. And then, so the last part is assistance. So how can we assist people? So let me find my notes. Sorry. I got so caught up on my highlights that I lost my assistance part. Anyone have anything to say while I'm figuring out where I'm at?
I underlined a part in that section, and it's just a question that leaders should ask themselves is, how can I make those around me more successful?
Yeah, for sure.
I thought that was good. And then, when you find that answer, then that's really where everybody wins.
One part I wanted to go over in the book is the section in assistance where it talked about being a model that others can follow. It talked about the actions that we do and then the results that we get from that. And so that's on page 132. But the action is that I do it. The result is that I'm modeling that behavior. The action, I do it and you're with me. The result is I'm a mentor because I'm doing it and they're with me. The action, you do it and I am with you, I'm a monitor. Then my action is I do it, they move forward. The action is I do it and someone is with me, then we multiply. So I've seen this over and over and over with Jamil, over and over and over. He does this consistently, constantly with all of us and our coaches that come on underneath us. So this is, I love this about him, that he models the behavior. He teaches us how to do it on our own. He monitors us, and then he lets us fly. So I love that. And that's something I want to continue to remember as I'm developing my coaches, is all these action steps to get them where they want to go so that they can fly and then do it themselves. So looks like we have just a couple minutes left. Does anyone have anything they would like to share before I close out? No one?
Come on, Jamil, it's your favorite chapter.
Yeah. I see you, but don't hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
There you are.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I had to move into the office. So, happy last day of the month.
Yes.
Oh, Craig, you look like I want to arrest you with that hoodie on.
That's awesome.
I'm a little skeptical, old white men in hoodies.
Just trying to duplicate you, buddy,
Oh my God. That's awesome, Craig.
Gosh, I feel like I haven't spoken on Zoom in a while. Yeah, this is by far my favorite chapter, man. Like, I've read this chapter lots and lots of times, and I agree with you guys. It's certainly appropriate for our businesses, but this is just kind of like a people thing. It for the folks that went to last Go Global in Tucson, when I did the talk about dynamic people skills, I got a lot of my material from this one chapter and from How to Win Friends and Influence People. But this chapter made me fall in love with John Maxwell. I started studying this at a point in my business to where we hit global director rather fast, and I thought that I had it all figured out. I didn't realize that I didn't know anything. And we hit global with, I think, six executive director legs, and then Craig knows the story. For the next 6 months, we didn't even come close, and I was really struggling, and I was blaming everyone. I was trying to figure out what's wrong with me. How come things aren't going the way that I intended them to go? What's wrong with the coaches? Am I not good enough? Am I not finding the right people? Am I saying things wrong? Blah, 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 all this stuff. And right after Sundance in 2013 is when I got this book, and then I read this chapter, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm doing everything wrong. I'm actually supposed to be all these things that we talk about now: empathetic, loving, appreciative. We talked about, and this is something that actually Craig helped me with a lot. We talked about recognition, one of the easiest things you can do, but goes the furthest. We talked about just owning up to your mistakes. So if you're feeling something, you feel like you didn't do a great job, own up to it and try to operate above the line. And more importantly, lead the way, be a true leader in every facet of your life. So with me, that was big with being, the man of this household. And really, it was right around the same time that I chose to believe for myself that my role with Amanda was different than I had ever considered it before. So, I could talk about this chapter forever, man. It's beautiful because we need to do these things in our businesses. So many times we're trying to figure out why our clients aren't doing what we necessarily feel like they should be doing, and why our coaches aren't doing what we necessarily feel like they should be doing. And it all comes back to this. Are you, and I think Carol Ann talked about it, are you in the business of building people and building relationships and fostering that sort of environment? Are you in the business of breathing life into people every single day? Are you in the business with just fantasizing about trying to get your business bigger? And who does that person need to be? Who's that person need to become in order to do that? And the crazy thing is, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to become that sort of person. But it definitely takes work, and it takes commitment, like everybody's doing here. So I just think it's dope. I could talk about it forever, but that's my input.
Thank you. So just in closing, as I was listening to you talk, Jamil, I looked down at my page, and did you guys read the part the part of where it talked about stealing people's ego food? I thought that was really, really cute. I'd never heard that before. But yeah, take the time to listen and don't talk over them. And when they give you something, don't make it about you. Don't steal their ego food. But in closing, in the very last part of the chapter, there's a Chinese poem that you guys probably read, and it talks about people, and just you can apply this to being a good leader. So the poem goes like this: go to the people, live among them, learn from them, love them. Start with what they know, build on what they have. But of the best leaders, when their task is accomplished, their work is done. The people will remark, we have done it ourselves. So in the end, it would be nothing about us as the leader. It would be all about them and them accomplishing their goal and them believing that they did it themselves. So I love that. Like, that's what I want to do for my coaches and even my clients. Like, I want them to believe that they have it in them and that in the end, when they hit that goal, they've done it themselves. All I've done is just been someone to listen. Like, they did it all themselves. So that is it.
Can I say something about that before we end?
Of course.
Okay, so that's one of my big goals in coaching and in life. Like, I think about it a lot with my son Ezra, and I pump so much stuff into his head every single day, but I want him to be, reach all of his capabilities. But one time, and Craig knows this, we're at Craig's house and there was a big event, and the group's starting to grow a lot, so I don't know a lot of the new coaches, and we were there, and a few people had essentially come up to me and asked me if I was a coach and if I was part of the team and things like that. And then Amanda asked me the next day, she goes, does that concern you that pretty much everyone was there because they're all part of your group, but, people don't know you or whatever. And I said, not at all. For me, that's following along the lines of what I want. Like, I want to get to a point to where nobody even knows my name. Like, nobody even knows that I'm here. Nobody cares. And that's because so many leaders have sprouted and grown in an organization that it's not about me at all. Like, they don't even need to know that I ever existed, because it's so much about everybody else that's part of the family and how much they've grown and how much value was given to them. And I see that in myself with even with the work that Kim Fisk put in with me. And, no one ever even really dreams about going to Kim or whatever. And even I look at me and I really don't pay attention, or I don't see all the wisdom that she's given me. I just kind of say, well, this is me, and this transformation is happening because of my hard work and all that stuff. So that's one of my biggest goals in life, is like that so many within our family down the line, they never even consider not even talking about me, and no one knows who I am.
Yep, that's good. Really good. I love it. Okay, Nicole, it's all you.
No. Thank you, Carol Ann. That was beautiful. I love
Great
it.
job.
You did an excellent job. I want to go back and read it again. Honestly, I think this chapter we could probably spend 4 weeks on, but I think this is definitely a chapter that I'm going to flag and go back and really study, because I think just a week wasn't enough for this one. For me, there was way too many things that stood out. So, and I think I'm seeing nodding heads that a lot of you agree. So thank you so much for taking this on. You did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, you guys. And we'll see you next week, chapter 8. And we'll work on finding a new leader for chapter 8 if any of you guys are available. All right. Have a good week.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.